Okay, everyone. I think we'll go ahead and get started. It's nice to see you all here. The second afternoon of our FabX Live conference. I'm Sonya, Pryor-Jones with the Fab Foundation, and really excited to host this session with you. It's our 2020 STEM Award remix session. As you heard earlier today, Chevron has been a great partner and sponsor with us, not only for the conference, but also to support educators around the world. They have given over $45,000 in total to different education-related labs and individuals, all in an effort to support STEM education through digital fabrication. This year, we decided that the STEM Award would work a little different. In years past, this particular award would happen prior to the conference. We would have an application go out, be promoted, and then at the conference, we would recognize and honor a winner around an activity or lesson that would then live on our Scopes website. Well, this year, due to COVID and all of the things that are happening that are changing our worlds very rapidly each and every day, we decided it would be best to focus on solutions. What are some ideas and solutions that we might focus on in order to really support teachers and educators around the world based on what they're going through? And so that is the whole idea behind the 2020 STEM Award. And what's really exciting about this session is you all will get to help shape the direction. And so what we know about this award is we want to continue to support the over 90% school-age children and their classroom teachers around the world that are no longer able to go to school as usual or as we've traditionally done. And instead, many of them are doing this remotely, or there are plans in the fall for hybrid related versions of schooling. And that's bringing along different challenges for teachers as it relates to curriculum, as it relates to social emotional learning and health of students. And so what are some of the creative ideas that might live in this network that we could seed with an award from the STEM Award this year and help to really push forward? So here is our agenda for the session. I think I've welcomed everyone. I'm Sonya Pryor-Jones with the Fab Foundation. If you all could maybe in the chat or in your box where your photo is, you could add to your name, where you're from, what lab or what community around the world. It would be great to know who's here with us, or if you could just write it in the chat. And we're really excited to have you all with us today. And what we'd like to do is, once we've got a sense of who's here with us, have a bit of a guided discussion about some of the things that we're seeing and facing as it relates to school and education in a COVID-19 environment. And then what we'd like to do after that discussion is put you all into smaller breakout groups where you could spend a little bit more time talking in more detail about topics that matter to you, that you're interested in discussing. And then we'll have everybody come back together for the last few minutes of our call and share with us the topic or idea that they thought was a priority. And then we will be using that to include with this year's STEM application. And we will be encouraging people who are applying to try to respond to solutions and ideas around what you've prioritized today. So I'm going to pause, and before we jump into the guided discussion, are there any questions from anyone at this time? Okay. And I'm leaning on my colleagues to read out any questions if they exist at this time, because those aren't visible to me as I'm sharing my screen right now. Okay, great. Are we able to get the guided questions in the chat?
Yes, they're in there now.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so that I could just have a better orientation and and look at those faces that are here. And then I'm going to take advantage of the chat. And so let's take a few minutes to just talk together. And so this is a time to unmute yourself if you'd like to engage in the conversation. The first guiding question that we have here is, what is different about teaching and learning amidst the challenges of 2020? Can anybody speak to that? What kinds of things are different? This is a shy group, huh? Well, you're lucky. I'm a talker. So I could definitely talk. I'm happy to start us off. I think for myself, I am not only an educator, but I'm also a mom. And so I had a high school senior living in my home this year. And so not only were we concerned about his safety and the fact that school stopped, in the midst of his senior year, which meant, there was a little concern around his college application process. There were concerns about his grades, but also because he is this high school senior, and the senior year in the United States is typically this moment in time, especially by the second semester, where the seniors really get focused on their social life, right? They're going to all these events and activities. And so for us in our household, what was really different with the parents and the teachers working in partnership was, how do we acknowledge the social limitations, right? Some of the things that were socially happening that kids were missing out on, where they could be made to, where we could acknowledge that, while people were also living in, more severe circumstances with their health because of COVID. And so how to hold both of those truths and worlds at the same time was really a tricky thing for us. So that's one of the things that comes up for me. But does anybody else have a response to that? What kinds of things were different about teaching and learning during these challenges in 2020, wherever you might be?
I can talk a little bit from my experience here in Brazil. I am from São Paulo, Brazil, and I am a Fabric Academy instructor. So we are doing everything online, but it's very difficult because people are afraid of the future, and so they are not they have not the possibility to make their inscription for this program of the year. So I have seen many interesting people, many especially women, that we would like to give this possibility, but they don't have money to do the course. And the other side of my experience is because I have two teachers in my house, my husband and my son. The two are chemistry professors. So we faced a very challenging situation because of the internet, the connection. We had not only to arrange the schedule with the schools, but also between them for having a good connection to transmit. And if we are the professor and we have this kind of problem, I can imagine how is the situation for the children and in many places. I have heard something very interesting in a meeting in Peru, where a woman was sharing her phone sign, I don't know, of internet for 4 children, and she has no data enough, and she need to give this opportunity for her children. So it's a very challenging time.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Angela. And a lot of these things are things we don't think about. And so for anyone who just joined us, I think we'll repost questions in the chat. But this is really a guided discussion at this moment to talk a little bit about the challenges and potential solutions uniquely facing educators and their students in 2020. And so thank you, Angela, for sharing that. Would anyone else like to share around that question, or we can move on to the next one? And we could always come back as well if something comes up for someone. Our next question here is, what useful changes have you made to continue teaching and supporting your students, or have you seen other people do? And I think I see a hand there. Arun Hadi, did you want to speak?
Yeah, but I want to speak about the previous question.
Okay,
That is the, yeah.
go for it.
Okay. Am I audible to you?
No, you have the
Yeah,
floor.
yeah. Thank you so much. So I'm Arundhati. Yeah. So I'm Arundhati Jadhav from India. I work as an instructor in Vigyan Ashram Fab Lab, and also I'm a STEAM lab teacher. So most of the time I'm working on the content development, and I'm always thinking about how we can connect the Fab tools for the academic curriculum. So basically, this is my main interest field. So the main challenge of this year is actually education in school is the all learn together, all grow together. But this year what happens in India, the rich families only got this facility about the internet, about the mobile connection. But if the class is of having 50 students, then only 30-40 students are uh, learning by using this facility, but 10 students are still they are not getting that facility, and they are still there only, and other student, their friends are going in the next class. So this is not good actually at this time. So they are now in a depression level, so we have to do for this also.
And so it sounds like you, if I have the summary right, a lot of students, because of some of the connectivity issues and just other things related to remote learning, may not be moving ahead with their classmates.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone else who'd like to respond to the first or second question that we have in our chat? A lot of times it's easy to talk about the problems. I think we want to hold both the challenges and potential solutions together. So anyone have anything that they've seen out there that's been a good support to students? Anything that's been useful?
I've got a couple good examples. Sonya, hi.
Hi, Corey.
One of the things that worked well for when we made the transition to remote learning was shifting, especially in a maker-focused classroom, to having projects that didn't require as much connectivity. So where you'd push out sort of instructions for maybe the week. And so a student and their family would work together to build a project. And it was okay if it took a week. You knew that they were using the time to get things done. I had a student who built, like a birdhouse, right? And so over the course of a week, with family members who had some, they had some resources at home. So that's something to take into account.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to be getting online that often. So they were able to use resources that they had available. With that, making sure that those are sort of like open-ended is very helpful, because then a student can use the resources that are available, and giving suggestions that say, like, if you have woodworking tools at home, make the birdhouse. If you don't, try and make a cardboard box turn into what you would like a birdhouse to be. Giving a similar sort of thing, but saying work with what you've got, gave some students a sense of success. We could still talk about kind of the geometry of those things and how that worked, but it didn't require them to be as connected as often, and they could use whatever they had at home.
That's excellent. That makes me think about one of the Scopes collections called Unplugged. That was something that we quickly started to think about, was, okay, everyone will not have access to a Fab Lab or all the Fab Lab tools, and some work that Liz started for us around these unplugged collections of lessons to sort of get at some of that, Corey. So thank you for sharing that.
I have something. Monique Davis.
Hi, Monique.
Hi. One of the things my co-teacher and I did, we both are doing computer science and are former intervention specialists. We made everything that we did mobile friendly for mobile phones, because we only have about 30% connectivity in our district, but a lot of our kids actually have phones that they can use. So some platforms don't necessarily lend themselves to mobile phones. So everything that we presented, everything that we assigned had to be able to fit the mobile device platform.
That's excellent. And you guys are doing a lot of computer science, right?
Yep, we're doing our best.
And I just have to shout out Monique as well as Rudahati, who you heard earlier. Both of them were Teacher Innovator Award winners this year. So we're really excited to have them with us and learn about what they're doing.
Yeah, and our district is being featured on CNN this Sunday with United Shades of America.
Oh, really?
A lot about, urban education and some of the things we're trying to do this year. So.
Oh, that's exciting. Please send us that link when you get a chance, or like when it's going to air.
Okay.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, Sunday at 10 o'clock on CNN.
Sunday at 10. Okay. That's very exciting. Any other thoughts or comments? So maybe we talk future forward a little bit. Now that we've been in this crisis for a couple of months, and there's some version of these different types of school situations that we're gonna have to be faced with moving forward, what are some of the new ideas or solutions that you think could be really helpful to support teachers and students in the coming year? What's missing? What do we need?
One of the things I think tech support is going to be a big issue when we switch to devices and learning, because parents aren't necessarily going to be fully equipped to handle technical difficulties. Students may be able to navigate a little bit better, but who helps somebody when they can't get connected, when they can't log in, whether it's staff, whether it's teachers, or whether it's students or parents. We have to factor that into the process. So what do we do if you're not right there and you can't say, okay, do this, do this, do that?
Good point.
Yeah, that was a major struggle for our district as well. I was actually in charge of a group of kids that repaired Chromebooks, which worked great when we were all in session, right? You could just drop off your Chromebook and then my students would fix them. But as soon as we went to not in person, then now you've got a problem. So coming up with solutions for that work has been a struggle. Our district tried to have a place where a student could go locally. But as a community of, we're a bunch of experts, maybe we have some tips and tricks we can share with the world to try and help make that easier and a little bit better, or suggested tools. Some students have, and there's I don't know, other resources we might know about, like Chromeduino is Arduino on a Chromebook, or I think Arduino's just starting to roll out their web interface for Chromebooks, if that's a thing people have. There's tons of those resources, or leveraging things that we might know about, but I don't usually use with students. Like for Monique, you might maybe use Git with your students. It depends on how you're coding, but then you can see the versions of their code as it goes. But that's I've never taught a whole class of students Git. So that's a whole different level to try and take on, but it could be useful.
Yeah, I know this issue with Chromebooks comes up a lot in terms of what fab-based software will and will not work on the Chromebooks. I think Liz was just educating me about some of that a couple of days ago. So
Oh, yeah.
it's really a top of mind issue.
I've figured out a lot of that because my students had Chromebooks. You can do Onshape, which is web-based 3D design. Chromeduino's great. Carrot. There's a bunch of like tricks and tips. So I can share.
Corey, do you have any of those in lesson plan form? We're putting together a collection for specifically for Chromebook users for the Scopes website, and I think your expertise is needed in this area.
Probably.
Well, I'm going to follow up with you then.
Yeah, follow up with me.
Thank you.
We're also creating YouTube videos for some general troubleshooting and something that's downloadable so they can access whether they're in Wi-Fi or connected or not.
Makes a lot of sense. And they're already there, right? It's sort of one of those places you don't have to pull them to be because they're already on YouTube. And that, I mean, I think that notion fits in really well with the fab culture because so many tools that we use in our fab lab, we use for things that they weren't originally intended for. And so being creative in that same mindset here makes a lot of sense. So you guys, the teachers in you, and I happen to know that both Monique and Corey are classroom teachers, they're with kids. The teacher in your responses made you go right to taking care of your students, right? Taking care of their families. What could we be thinking about on the idea and solution side to help take care of teachers? You know, like, are there also things that, because this is about teaching and learning, right? Are there also things that teachers could use or need as we think about this this award?
One of the things I looked at, Slide Mania has a ton of different useful slides for Google Slides, and that we're a Google Classroom based district. So they have like a planner for teachers, and you can go in and link in your calendar. You can create them for different classes, but once you create the one template, it's something that you can share out to other teachers in your district, and then they can adjust it how they want. But you can load in the calendar, the different dates you have assignments due, and you only kind of have to do it one time, and then you tweak it a little bit as you go along, and then you have it set for the whole year. So it's like you can link your lesson plans, announcements, videos. There are all kinds of ways you can use it, but it's like how to work efficiently and have everything in one place instead of having to go to this platform and then that platform and then this platform. You can have it all right there for your kids, for your parents, even for your administrators, because I'm not sure how they're going to do walkthroughs and evaluations. So how do you put yourself in a position to look like you're organized and, you know, on top of everything?
Well, because FAB is an international community, I also try to be very conscious when the conversation feels very US centric. So I want to pause and just see if some of our other community members from other parts of the world have any thoughts about anything we've discussed, or just any general comments you'd like to share before we go into breakout groups.
I remember something interesting, that is this new relation between the privacy, because the students here in my home, I see the students of my two professors that are here. Nobody opened the camera. Nobody opens the camera. They are giving classes to names on the screen, and many times in the beginning we thought, may we ask them for open their camera, but they are inside their room. They are houses. No, well, we don't know the situation they are, where they are. No, so this is a very interesting thing, that is a limit from the privacy, and also the exigence from the family, because the family has to make this space okay to appear in the screen. And the last thing, very challenging, I think, is the evaluation process, because you cannot give an exam. So how to evaluate the knowledge, how to evaluate they learn something. And this has a good and a bad point of view, I think, because the bad, it's difficult. You cannot evaluate it the same way. And the good thing also is that the students begin seeing that the great part of their learning is from their own decision. They have to decide, because if they only put on and go out of the class and go to the television and let the computer or the mobile only with his name, we will never know. No? As somebody, some way, at the end of the class, my husband say, "Oh, there are 3 that didn't leave the class because they were not there." No, so I think this relation is so important to rediscuss. Even if we return, of course, we will return to the physical space, but how this experience can change our way of learning and teaching after the COVID or after the situation we are living now.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think there is a lot to explore as it relates to better understanding students and how they feel about their home environments and the implications for that for learning. And then also the fact that this is a unique opportunity for students to really lead in their own learning for themselves. And so, and how do we, support them in doing that and help them get equipped to do that. And I know the son that I live with, I spend a lot of time as a mother, have you checklist, right? And I have a, now 18-year-old. So, kids need different things to really become the captain, if you will, of their own learning. Well, I think we're going to pause on our open discussion and prepare for breakout groups. So I'm going to share my screen again just to give you guys information on how we want to do this. And so Liz, I'm going to turn it over in a second for Liz to get kind of to the nitty gritty about how she's going to put you in the rooms. But when you get there, these are the things we'd like you to do. Again, this is all under the premise of you deciding and suggesting what direction this award should go into. And so in your group, please at the beginning, select a facilitator, someone to keep the conversation going. You also need someone to take notes. There's a document here, if you see my cursor, that we would like you to place your notes in based on what group you're in. And then someone to report out what you discussed. And, we really want you as a group to start to think about what are some top challenges or solutions that you'd like to see us have this award focused around. And then for you to spend a little time in your group thinking about what some of the impact could be for that, and start to prioritize your ideas when you're in that group. And then, we want you to come back to the whole group and share with us. And as a group, we'll collectively prepare this document. It will go right into the application for the STEM Award. And when people are applying for the award, they will be doing so under your guidance and direction. And so this is where we are. No pressure on anyone, but we wanted the community to help make these decisions. And so we're excited that you're here to do that. And so I'm going to pause and I think stop sharing my screen as well. And Liz, can you tell us about the breakout groups?
Sure. I'm going to automatically assign you all to breakout room. There'll be 2 different rooms, and you will magically transport there. After about 18 minutes, I'll give you a 2-minute warning, and then you will magically transport back here to this room. You could also self-select to come back to the main room, but it's all quite internet magic. So in just a second, you will all be moved.
Thank you, Liz. And Lydia has placed the document in the chat. So that's where you'll take your notes.
So you should have a dialogue box that popped up, Monique and Musa.
I did. I'm dually enrolled in this workshop and another workshop. So I'm going to do the breakout room. So then when we come back to the main, I'm probably going to toggle between the two.
Great. That's fine. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So we'll let the other group go first. Oh, I guess this is where I'm supposed to come back and talk again. So what we wanted to do was to have each group share. So who is the person who's sharing on behalf of group one?
I think Corey was very eloquent in his.
I can share, yeah.
Agree.
So we'll start off, if you can all see the document, hopefully. We talked about sort of 4 things. The first one was technology access and support. And so hopefully somebody who has earned this award has figured out a great solution to help everybody get their students access, even if it's like the guiding videos that we talked about maybe, or if they're imagining ways to like curate a sort of common tech problems and answers resource would be awesome. And then the next thing that we talked about was just like a collection of project ideas in general, but especially trying to focus on continuing learning or maker learning, and keeping in mind that a lot of the families around are in need. You know, there's students still need to do their academic work, but also focusing on the fact that a family is going to probably, the odds are good that they may be struggling with the hardship of a lost job or something else. And there's just a lot of stress from having everybody in the house. So any projects that are like fun, happy experiences that move the student forward, bring the family together in a positive way, sort of guided examples of that would be great. Another important aspect we thought was social emotional learning, that's normally supported in a classroom by teachers and by counselors, but that when at home, parents who are doing their very best may not have the same, you know, it's not a team of people supporting students, right? And so what sort of structures can you put in place to support students in developing their social emotional intelligence while they're at home during COVID, especially because it's a stressful time for all of us. So how do you figure all that stuff out? And then the last bit is maybe a little bit to support teachers, like having this all in one area where it's nice to get to, easy to say like, oh, these are validated, these things will work. And when you're on your 15th hour of trying to lesson plan, you can find an easy win with an online resource, something like that. Does that summarize it? Anything to add? Okay.
Thanks, Corey.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I'm just gonna, our team didn't get far enough. We didn't follow my own directions and select a reporter at the beginning. So I don't know if Monique or Arahati would like to present out for us.
I can present for us. 1 second. We came up with 3 priorities. Addressing the tech troubleshooting needs that students, other teachers, and parents face. And some of the thoughts we had were teachers need to practice teaching virtually. We think we were all kind of thrown into it at the beginning of the pandemic. And just having some time to actually learn the tools that we're trying to use and become proficient with them. Addressing the limited time for helping PD time for helping teachers learn how to use the technology, and then creating an ongoing vehicle of support for teachers as they develop content and use the technology. Our second thought was students are bored and need creative activities and ways to learn. So using home materials to learn science and other subjects, peer-to-peer learning between students, and then using platforms that students are using like TikTok and Flipgrid to kind of look at assessing content in a different way, you know, being virtual, being verbal, or being demonstration in order to decide if they know the content or not. And then evaluate students on skill-based like carpentry, plumbing, electric fittings, can create guided lessons so they can learn on their own, and also what kind of evaluation, I think is that supposed to say, what kind of evaluation can be created for remote work. And again, just trying to figure out how do you give students credit, kind of say, for what they do on a regular basis. One of the things we did in our district was we started giving kids who are working credit for some of their classes based on the skills they would use in their work that they did.
Oh, that's a really creative idea. And I'm sure students like.
Like, I mean, credit for just showing y'all that I worked. Woo-hoo.
Thank you so much.
If you were in a job readiness class and you have a job, doesn't that speak to being ready? A work readiness class. So, you know, just being able to get the information from their employer on how they were doing as a worker. Yeah, why wouldn't we give you credit for that? You're doing exactly what the course title says you should be doing.
I'm sorry, but I have to leave as you have the control, because I have to open the other section in another room.
Go for it. And
Thank you very much for the session. I love to participate. And I would like only to ask you for open the camera for a last picture for the register here.
am I
If you can.
for other people? So yeah, your
Bring
camera.
Liz or Kamal if they want or not.
There.
Okay. Thank you. So I will leave, and thank you very much.
Bye. So just 2 more things for all of you. Lydia has placed the application for the 2020 STEM Award in the chat. And so I would just encourage you all to.
It's 3 o'clock.
That's my computer. It tells me what time it is. That's how bad it is in my life right now. I would encourage you all to take full advantage of this. You helped to shape it today. I'm trying to show you this last slide, but somehow I've gotten myself stuck somewhere I don't want to be. But just as a quick reminder to you, the award, again, there will be 2 rounds for the actual award. One of them starts today after this session. The other will start in September. And again, the whole idea is we want to take this opportunity with the Chevron resources to not just do something that supports one location, but hopefully something that supports our field. And so we would, like to encourage you to spread the word. You just need to, if you're a maker, partner with the school community where you can test and implement the idea. And the award amounts will be $1,500 each. There'll be 4 of them. And so we're looking forward to, getting the word out and seeing what cool creative things people come up with to help educators and students during this crisis. So thank you all for lending your time and your ideas to this. And please enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye.
Bye, everybody.